Welcome to show number 3 of Total Art TV, the podcast that exposes you to the arts. Today's program is brought to you by our friends at RAM Productions. RAM Productions, a full-service video and new media production and post-production company. Visit them on the web at ramvideo.us. Join us for the second part of our interview with Leslie Kaufman. In this show, Leslie discusses the Philadelphia International Sculpture Show, entitled Global Warming at the Icebox, that opens October 5th and runs through November 15th.
I'm talking to Leslie Kaufman, organizer and curator for Global Warming at the Icebox. It's an exhibit opening up October 5th and running to November 15th. This event prompts creative expression and thought about global warming. Tell me, Leslie, what was your vision for this event?
Well, originally, what I wanted to do was to have an exhibition that had social content to it. And my thinking was that Philadelphia Sculptors has done many exhibitions in the past. We have not actually had too much in the way of thematic exhibitions. We've had a few, but not many. And it seemed to me that because there's so many really critical things happening in the world today, that it was time for us as a group to allow our artists or other artists to make statements about something that mattered. So it started as something vague and general, just we want artists to take a stand to say something. And then in discussing this idea with other people, I shared with them that we had a venue for it, and the venue is something called the Icebox Gallery, which is a really huge space. It's a large 50 by 100 foot space with 21-foot ceilings, and an artist-run and operated building. So I thought this was a great venue because as an exhibition space, it's a place that's open to all sorts of organizations. So we need space because we don't have our own space. So it was called the Icebox. And the reason for that, actually, was because at one point it had been a refrigeration facility, so that seemed to be the name that fit for it. So I was talking to people about it. We wanted to have some socially conscious theme. What should it be? And somebody said, oh, global warming at the Icebox. I said, oh, you know, this is just, it's perfect. It's just perfect. Of course, the timing. Everybody has been talking about this for a while. Al Gore really gave it popular appeal, but I think many, many people are paying a lot of attention now to the environment. So that's really where the idea came from, and it seemed to take off, and it seemed to resonate with a lot of people, and we got a lot of interest from our members and then from people I spoke to, so I thought, okay, let's run with it.
Great. Well, what sort of artists and artwork did you look for in putting this show together?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of answers to that. I was looking for people, well, I guess, you know, if I could have what I wanted, it would be people who, as artists, would come up with solutions to global warming. I mean, that's asking a lot. I didn't really expect that's what I'd have. But what I did want was an artist's perspective. I wanted artists to look at it differently than somebody who was saying, okay, you know, like, what are we going to do to save the polar bears? I wanted them to be a little bit more in depth. I wanted them to look at different angles that maybe weren't obvious angles to most people, and from the point of view of someone who is giving something visual for people to look at, so that by having something visual, somebody could then make a connection to what the content was behind it. So as far as the form it would take, I didn't really have expectations for that, but I knew that since we had such large space, that I wanted more in the way of installations, that I wasn't looking for small things because they get lost there, and I wanted the opportunity for people to interact with what the artists were creating. So we ended up getting a number of videos. We're going to have video projections. There'll be pieces that people can walk around or walk through that encourage people to actually become a part of them. And I was surprised at the diversity of thinking. Well, I wasn't really surprised. I hoped that I would get that. But you know, a lot of people had very different approaches to it. Some of them specifically geared towards global warming, and others with a larger, maybe broader environmental perspective.
Could you describe one of the pieces that someone might be able to walk through? Give us an idea of what...
Okay. We have an Israeli artist. Her name is Shai Zakai. And she is known for her environmental work. And what she is doing is something called Forest Tunes the Library. And what she has done is she's set up shelves in a library, and on each shelf are boxes, and in each box are pieces of leaves and flora from various places in the world. And it's like, it's in some ways related to like the seed vault idea, where people are taking seeds and preserving them over time. But hers is a way of very literally seeing what has happened in different parts of the world and how these places could be at risk based on how climate change can then perhaps, you know, cause something to disappear, become extinct. So you as the viewer can go in, you can open up these boxes, look and see what's inside them. She has a library table and chair, so you could conceivably pick it up and sit down and look at it. Plus you will have a video that will be running at the same time. So this definitely involves people participating.
That sounds really compelling. I noticed, you mentioned she was from Israel. I noticed that you had artists coming from all over the world, Europe and Canada, U.S., Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
How did that come together for you? How did you locate these people?
What happened was, originally, what we wanted to do with this was to expand what Philadelphia Sculptors was doing past just member shows. So I wanted to have an opportunity to invite more recognized artists from perhaps other places in the world. So we looked around. Some of them, the people we chose were people we had heard of, word of mouth, and we eventually settled on 5 artists who were either international or were not local. So those 5 artists, we mentioned Israel, we have somebody from Canada, we have somebody from Puerto Rico who's currently living in the U.S., but he's from Puerto Rico. We have somebody from Louisiana, and then of course we have one local person, Stacy Levy, so we wanted to have somebody local. So they were invited artists based on their vision, based on their reputation. Then we had an open juried competition, because it's very important to me to be democratic in the sense that anybody who is making a statement about this theme should be able to submit their work to the show. So we were amazed. We had like 84 applicants, and we had Cheryl Harper, who's the co-curator, and Adelina Voss, who's an assistant curator of modern and contemporary art at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. They were the 2 jurors. And what really surprised us was we had thought that the competition part would be for local people, so we could balance off international and national with local. And what ended up happening was that of the 10 people we selected, most of those were international. A lot from Canada. We had somebody from Germany, somebody from Ireland, and a few people who were, you know, from the United States, and even one member. But we were surprised, and I'm not sure what that meant. But it was interesting that so many people would be interested in participating in this, because it means a lot for them to come from pretty far away. There's a lot of logistics involved. But we're very happy and excited that we have a totally international show, and the 2 groups will be all mixed in together.
Right. It sounds like it's going to be very impressive. There seems to be also more than an art exhibition. Tell me what other part of the event is going to be part of this.
Well, along with the exhibition, we're also having a panel discussion or a symposium, because we wanted to give other people an opportunity to really talk more about this, because even though at the show we'll have artist statements, the dialogue that we envision happening is probably going to be between the viewer and the sculpture or the installation, as opposed to people talking too much with one another. So at the symposium, we're having a Canadian writer who will be moderating a panel of curators and artists. Some of the artists in the show will be participating. So we'll get to hear from them about their views on art, the role that art can play with global warming, and from the curators, other shows that they've curated about this theme. We're also using it as an opportunity to show some of the videos that are going to be produced for the global warming exhibition, because 2 of the people that we chose, we accepted their proposal, so they haven't actually made the work yet, and some of that involves videos, and some of the videos we think will be pretty funny. So we thought, well, we'll make this panel discussion a little bit livelier and have some younger people participating on it, so we'll get the visual of the videos, plus, you know, the images that will be shown, plus somewhat of an academic, intellectual dialogue on the topic.
They also take questions from the audience. Are you planning on doing
Absolutely, we absolutely will have that. And at this point, we don't really know exactly how it's going to go, but we will encourage everybody to come. It will be open, free and open to the public, and will be held at Moore College of Art and Design. And that will be October 11th. Absolutely, yeah. So everybody can come.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for talking
Well,
with
thank
me, and I look forward to coming to the exhibit.
Great, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.